All right, I'm going to keep this one short because I have a limit on my time, and also baby June is just sort of crawling around over there on the floor. Um, Not to talk about. I don't know if it's just me, but I do feel like I've been a little more confident and relaxed in my regular and actual conversations I have outside of this, video monologuing. Yeah, I do feel like I've been speaking maybe a bit more clearly just over the last day or two. Um, I guess the communication, so much of it is just, kind of like a confidence game. Yeah, we'll see. I think if I can keep this up, like, what's my time horizon here? My part is maybe if I can just like keep up these kind of video journals. I mean, part of me is like, well, if I do this 100 times, it's surely going to get me like somewhere after I do this 100 times, I will be, um, I'm sure I will be a more effective communicator um, over video. I certainly would develop in some way. And I want to become more comfortable with having those sort of longer time horizons for achieving what it is that I want. I guess in terms of the previous video, what it is that I want to do online, thinking out loud, communicating thoughts, being better at it, and being someone who gets to show up and express themselves on the internet. Um, yeah, it's something that I know I want and I've wanted for like a very long time. I know I can be quite confident that it's like a desire that won't go away. And I feel overall, I feel good and accepting of that being some frontier of personal development. Um, there's really nothing to stop me other than just, again, like giving myself permission to give it some time and attention, and also not being too afraid of how I might, fall off course. I guess I articulated 2 years ago when I was when I was sort of socially involved on the internet. I I guess it was a little like falling in love, but it proved to me that there's like a there, and I was right. Like, it was very much a kind of right and good thing for me to want to be more than just a passive consumer of online media. So it proved that it was something that I could do and want to do, and felt very like it felt good and right, and felt just like with a good fit with me somehow, in a way that seemed mostly healthy. But yeah, so too, it was just so compelling, and just the way I think, just in terms of my just own social patterns and behaviors, I just was I became like too involved. And the other lesson I have is like, oh, don't get sucked in, don't get too involved. And and so yeah, that's been a fear, that to start you know giving this sort of online expression, if I give it an inch, it will take a mile. And yeah, I keep articulating this. I think even just in the other two videos I've uploaded, that this dynamic. Okay, enough said there. Or maybe there isn't. Maybe I keep returning to it because there isn't enough said there. There's perhaps just, I'm circling around it, maybe because there is, I'm still just reaching for a better articulation. That there's some part of myself that's like, you haven't nailed that one yet, or you haven't reduced it down to the right phrase or metaphor. And so I'm just sort of keep noodling and feeling around the edges. Yeah. Or perhaps I'm just going over it again because I feel like I don't know. Word reifying comes to mind. I don't know if that's quite right. Um, I've been thinking about loops lately. The idea of the OODA loop is one that I have kind of a passing acquaintance with, and I'd like to learn more about OODA loops, which I guess is observe, orient, decide, act. I think it might be a concept from the U.S. military, maybe, and it has something to do with complexity science. And does David Snowden have anything to do with it? I want to return to that concept. It seems relevant, but I just have to read a bit more about it and maybe find a video or two to listen to. But I have been thinking about other types of loops, particularly with the whole Will Smith slap thing, and when he gave his acceptance speech / kind of explaining himself speech, he talked about being a vessel, sort of a vessel for, goodness and love. And that language, that idea of seeing oneself as a vessel, receiving the Holy Spirit or the energies, the energies of the vibes. This is so not my natural model for thinking of things, but I do believe that it is like a very good mental model to have. I'm sure in extremes, any mental model of that or whatever I'm holding an extreme problem, but just I have been thinking of just having of that model of being the vessel and receiving and vibing on things and receiving the good. And then he made the comment about the devil. Denzel Washington had just shared with him that when you're on top, that's when the devil comes for you. And so of course in terms of that imagery, I imagine the sort of, you make yourself this vessel to receive what is good, but by that openness and being ready to receive, there's always the potential for the devil or something evil or bad or dark or addictive or something to get in there because you have opened yourself to influence. Yes, to open yourself to that influence means that you are open to receive influences and powers that it's just called negative or bad or evil or whatever. And I thought, well, what's I was thinking of OODA loops. Like, there's some loop, like, what's that Christian loop or the receptive loop orient, observe, decide, act. Like, what? I just maybe just having a piece of paper to write this down, or maybe talking to someone who is more spiritual than me. I'm sure there's any number of systems that would map to this, but what is it? Observe, orient. Again, this is very very kind of phallic, and the observer, and I over-identified with the intelligence. So it's more like something of sit, open. Maybe first you're sitting, maybe you're then kind of opening. No, sitting, so there's stillness or getting comfortable or something. And then maybe there's the opening to the thing. And then I feel like there's then the receiving the thing. And then it just makes me think of then, what are you doing? Are you then holding the thing? Are you, I guess there's oh God. Are you then eating it or metabolizing it or absorbing it within yourself, or having it you unify and body one with your body type of thing? Like, say you putting something in your mouth and you're eating it, or you spit it out. Tasting. Tasting would be somewhere in that loop. But yeah, so how But I'm thinking of receiving or eating food. I know obviously there's the whole sexual energy way of looking at it, and I just in terms of that spiritual spirit and maybe the sense of like God and the devil, like the vessel of love, and then the devil gets in there, and then what's happening, like when you have accidentally eaten the devil or the devil's gotten in you, like how, like what's that sensing or thing you do where you're like, oh, I've been possessed, or this is the devil acting here, and then the spitting, are you spitting the devil out? I think so. Absorb, if you're accepting something as the devil rather than having some like non-dualistic view, I think you want to spit out the devil, or do you want to metabolize and synthesize the devil? I don't know. I like this. There in terms of this train of thought, like I feel like there's something here. I would love to talk in terms of this receptive OODA loop devil Christian. I don't know. This all seems both kind of like schizophrenic a little bit, but I'm trying to make sense of something. I feel like there's something here. I can, where to go next. I can do some drawings to represent what it is in my mind, to just take this very naive first guess. I can actually familiarize myself with OODA loops and figure out, well, what are there other types of loops or models that are siblings to it, or the inversion of it, and act. Sort of what's the receptive, metabolize or absorb is sort of the receptive opposite of act. Yes, this feels very much like sort of like a feminine OODA loop. Okay, anyways, to be continued. This is something I want to keep thinking about. Maybe it'd be fun if I didn't have any time crunch. I could just keep like riffing on this in this goofy way. And that, this is something that I'd like to maybe be able to kind of like talk through or brainstorm with someone. But I feel like there's perhaps some more work that I can do individually, so that It's fun. I would like to keep talking and thinking, but I am looking at the time. This is about all I have. I like the space. I like this thinking out loud space. And I do believe I could keep it up for a long time, and I do believe it's beneficial for myself, and maybe at some day would lead to me being able to make kind of contributions and beneficial to someone else, other people. I like it. This is good. This is a fun little space that I'm carving out here. But I know it's folly to just talk when you're just so early on in some kind of little experiment, to just start talking or going on about what a great idea this is. That is one of my tendencies. Is when I think, I'm like, oh, I'm on a great idea, is to, in the first 3 days of doing it or whatever, being like, this is it, this is the thing. And then, of course, you just sort of run out of steam, or you're on to the next thing 4 or 5 days after that. Again, loops. Again, I can just think again what some of my own loops are, and how I can, particularly looping through states and loops. That's the thing. Think about different states passing through the loops, and what it means to be able to have the ability to cycle through a loop quickly, sort of when you're like faster and faster and faster, or maybe it's not quicker, you know, in terms of being able to slow down the process and have it be more sort of meaningful or in proportion, just like getting the proportions right for how long you're in each state. All right. Hi, June. All right, signing off.